Shalom. Allah start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Harak HaKadash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone, citations to the Ophalet. This pushing is truth, our cause for comes of the earth and all fair truth and sincerity. This I'm gonna want to buy by getting us in real quick. So I'm going to about let's go into this article really on Yahoo News today. So getting into it, not gonna make this too long. So U.S. power grid faces blackout warning as one city goes dark for over a week. Reading on, it says a prolonged blackout in Indiana City is shining a bright light on America's aging power grid, revealing major national vulnerabilities. Thousands of residents in Gary, Indiana, were left without power for more than 2 weeks after severe storms hit the area. While local repair crews worked around the clock to rebuild entire power lines, federal energy experts are raising a much bigger alarm. They warned that our national electricity network is so fragile that a coordinated attack could leave the country without power for up to 18 months. Hey man, it's all it's gonna take, man. One just, cyber attack on the grid. They say up to 18 months. So you're looking at shit damn near 2 years, huh? It's just about. Yeah, down there 2 years. That woo-wee. That's, man. But if that happened, man, it's yeah. It's over with, man. Shit. But reading on. What happened in Indiana isn't just local news. Extreme weather in northwest Indiana recently showed up quickly locally as let me that again, excuse me. Extreme weather in northwest Indiana recently showed it how quickly local electric networks can crumble under pressure. On August 11, fierce storms packed with 99 to 130 mile-hour winds tore across Indiana. The severe weather intentionally knocked out power for 300,000 customers, leaving more than 75,000 people without power for more than a week. Fixing the local damage wasn't just a basic repair job. Utility crews had to completely rebuild the infrastructure from scratch, replacing 300 utility poles and 44 heavy transmission structures. It's a sobering preview of what happens when outdated infrastructure meets extreme weather. If you live outside a major metropolitan hub, getting emergency help and replacement hardware during a crisis can take much longer than you think. I say the scary reality of an 18-month national blackout. Let me see. Let me play this. Let's see.
A major blackout that could last up to 18 months, according to a new report. Concerns are heightened as one U.S. city has been without power for more than a week. John Wellinghoff said the grid could be seriously disrupted if similar incidents targeted the 10 most important substations in the country's 3 sections. In northwest Indiana, more than 75,000 customers were still in the dark Wednesday, and full restoration is not expected until August 25th.
Okay, so I guess this is on that. Let me see. It's a 2013 internal power flow analysis conducted by Federal Energy Regulatory Commission's FERC concluded that disabling just 9 key substations could paralyze the entire American grid for 18 months. Back in 2013, snipers shot up to 17 electrical transformers at the Metcalf substation near San Jose, California. The localized attack took 27 days to repair, even while the surrounding grid stayed fully operational. John Willinghoff, former chairman of Federal Energy Regulatory Commissions, revealed that the Metcalf incident triggered critical internal analysis of FERC discovered that knocking out just 9 critical substations across our 3 regional interconnection could trigger nationwide failure, lasting up to 18 months. Without electricity, everyday essentials like clean tap water, cell phone towers, banking systems, and fuel pumps would shut down within days. That ain't good. Willenoff warned that the attackers could execute such a strike in 20 minutes because substation locations are visible on public maps. Yeah, so what you see in Indiana, man, it happened there. It can happen here. Like I said, attack happened. Like I said, cyber attack or attack on the grid, man, it's done. You just and they're gonna have to, like I say, they're gonna have to rebuild, restructure all that, to get it back up, and it's gonna take time, like they said. So, hey, I can say if it does come about, when it do happens, if when it come about, I can say the elect of the so-called Negro, Latino, Israelites, Lord Yahweh gonna make sure the elect is okay. It's gonna have gonna be protected and have food and so forth, and I ain't gonna have to worry about that if you're the elect. Now everybody else, if you're not a part of righteous number, the Lord Yahweh is not gonna have mercy and protect you, and have mercy in that time, and when America. If America, if I ain't gonna say if it can happen, right? America, get hit with a cyber attack, whatever, on the grid, and it knocks out the power in America, a complete blackout, right? You know what I'm saying? No communication, nothing. Just it show you in that movie. I want to say Leave the World Behind, but it's another movie too. But let's just say Leave the World Behind. I forgot it's another movie. But let's say Leave the World Behind kind of shows that, man. You knock out the communication, completely just knock off the grid, and it goes to complete just darkness, am I right? The complete darkness, and communication, no communication, and then like I say, just all our chaos gonna break it. All out here gonna break loose, chaos in the cities. Now, if you are not within the city, you're far off from it, and you got yourself prepared for, how you got yourself prepared. You got your batteries and your backup generators or batteries that the way you can have some light on, whatever. You're in the area where you could get clean water from a river or whatever. You're away from the cities. You're gonna have to deal with the chaos and the chaos that's gonna come about within the cities. People losing it, going crazy. Raping, robbing people for what they got, or whatever they gotta do to try to survive. And that's gonna come about. And that's in Second Esdras. The Great Tribulations. For the lack of food. The great troubles, man. But that's what's ahead, man. It's coming. It's not too far off. Hey, we still got the rest of this year. Ain't no telling what gonna happen the rest of this year. It could be a blackout around the corner. But just know it can happen, man. You know, eventually it can happen. Eventually it could happen, man. And then I say, won't be surprised because there was a plague in Egypt that happened, and Mizraim, when Pharaoh didn't want to listen to Moses, to let the Lord's people go to Israel, Israelites, today are the so-called Negro Latino natives, a darkness came. Moses, lift up his staff, and the darkness came upon this place, came upon Egypt, Mizraim, in that time, but it's gonna happen. It's definitely could happen again here in America. Babylon the Great, Lord Yahweh Shai bring that plague of darkness upon America, Babylon the Great, and people in Indiana were showing they'll drive around or go outside to see, just show you how dark it is without no light, pitch black, can't see nothing, and that could be for most of America, man. It could happen, man. It's and I say the elect gonna be taken care of. Hopefully, I'm probably righteous number. The elect gonna have light. Gonna be light. They're gonna have light in the darkness. Somehow, some way. Lord Yahweh gonna make sure his elect is okay. And again, hopefully, I'm probably righteous number, man. Cause, man, gonna need Lord Yahweh Shai. Now and going forward, man. But let's say the AI data centers are sucking up massive powers. Like I said, these data centers are gonna cause a problem too. Blackouts. The blackouts could be in cities. Cause blackouts. Because they take so much energy energy. And so that's I didn't want to make this too long. Yeah, so I'm gonna get the scripture about this. I did not want to make this too long. This Exodus 10:21, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. Yahweh, said unto Moses, hey, stretch thy hand towards heaven, with the staff, stretching out, that there might be darkness over the land of Egypt. And Mizraim, in the time it was called Mizraim. Egypt, people know that Egypt, but the darkness which may be felt. So the dark, it says it's a darkness that you can feel it. It's man, it's a plague. That plague come upon them. It's a plague, right? Plague of darkness. Come upon. Most High Yahweh, told Moses, stretch your hand until Egypt, to bring that plague of darkness upon Egypt. And then, like I say, it definitely, it's gonna happen in America, man. Don't be surprised, it can happen, man. Complete darkness, man, could come about, man, But like I said, the elect of the so-called Negro Latino Native Israelites, it's gonna be okay. They're gonna have light. They ain't gonna have to worry. They ain't got. Lord Yahweh gonna be with the elect. But everybody else is gonna be in that darkness. We're gonna have to deal with the judgment of that within the darkness, and not having, power or communications resources. That's gonna run out eventually. Water going bad. Because longer the power be out, the water, can't filter out the water, that could be that's gonna be, that's a problem. That's the situation right now in Indiana. We got people they going to they're going to what they call I forgot what they call, like a fountain or something like that. Somewhere in Indiana, I saw there was was a family that was getting water from not a fountain, but it's called a. I can't get out the word I want to say, but it was like an area they were getting water from. I can't want the name I want to say, but they were getting water from, and like because the water was the water was out, the water was out due to the power. It can't filter the water, so so that's gonna come to a lot of places and cities, a lot of states and cities in America battling great, for power to hold America, but Exodus 10:22, and Moses stretched forth his hand towards heaven, and there was thick darkness in the land of Egypt for 3 days. So like in the article, they said it'll be 2 years, down there 2 years or whatever, for things the power get back running, fully. If the grid gets knocked out, power grids get knocked out, So, hey, we in those times going forward, man. It's gonna get serious, man. It's gonna get real serious, man. Just hope that me, myself, first from my Lord Yahweh Shai have mercy. And I have that mercy from Lord Yahweh Shai and be protected and delivered, now and going forward. But that's the only ones that gonna make it. In these times, now, as the elect, the Israelites, 2/3 of the Israelites not gonna have mercy or deliverance from Lord Yahweh Shai from the plagues and the wrath and destruction that he gonna bring upon his place, America, Babylon great. So I didn't want to make this too long. So Lord willing, I hope those edifying. So again, I'd like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Harakakadash, to the apostle elders, to the sister brothers, to the few Akwaf sisters that do listen, keep the faith, and Yahushua keep fighting with that. I say shalom.